All right, a couple quick updates here. Not much has changed on this screen. I did add a serial command. This is just so you can type something in and send it to the controller board. I have some built-in things inside there that aren't really in the interface, and just in case we needed to for whatever reason. And when you connect now, it reboots because it doesn't really deal the same thing with the sending data terminal. Doesn't kind of reset it. So it does that and it sends initial settings. I did change this instead of being disabled to reconnect, so it just basically clicks disconnect and reconnects. So if you needed to just kind of reboot it, obviously if you hit disconnect, you wouldn't be able to then click connect, so figured that'd be helpful. Touchpad has a lot of changes. Physical pad dimensions are locked down because you can't actually change them. And enable scaling is just to change the virtual size of the touchpad. So for example, we could drop this down to like 2000 by 1000. So then when you move your thumb across it, it doesn't quite move so far because obviously the resolution's pretty high on this. ADC gain, that's just kind of I don't know exactly what it is, but it does have something to do with the sensitivity of detecting a finger's presence. So we probably won't change it, but it's just there in case we need to. Touch and lift thresholds are for the pressure that the touchpad decides to register as a touch and when your fingers lift it off. So these are some things we might tweak if as needed. Minimum force is the same. I know they kind of seem redundant, but it's just the way the code is all flowing, so they're still separate in a way. Max force change, this is how much pressure change when we're trying to eliminate that jitter. So when you lift and the pressure drops by 10, then it just discards those events so it doesn't jump the mouse around. Single tap timeout is how long it waits to see if you're doing a single tap or starting a movement or just holding the tap down. That's in milliseconds. Max distance is how far it kind of has a threshold. So if you tap and you move if you move more than 50, then it immediately doesn't care about this timeout anymore. It says, okay, well, you move more than 50 touchpad pixels, so we're not doing a single timeout. We are just considering this movement. And double tap timeout is how long it waits. So it waits for a single tap, but then how much longer it'll wait for a double tap. These boosts are still the same. Nothing else has really changed in any of these other areas. Options, now we have the enable connection ping, which I think was already there, which I do recommend leaving it because if it doesn't hear back from the controller, it'll send a reboot, which I guess if the whole controller's crashed, it won't matter anyway. And the reboot on connect, I set this at 2000, which seems to work pretty well. When I had it at 1000 milliseconds, sometimes it kind of just hung out and never really connected and rebooted. So leave that there. I also put a little version down in the corner just for reference, just so we know what's going on with whatever's running. I don't really think that's much. I can disconnect. I did add this prompt here when you hit disconnect, just again, so in case you accidentally tapped it. So just make sure beforehand. And I'll clear that out and connect again, just so you can kind of see. Reboots, waits 2 seconds, and then it's gets the pressure sensor, sets the thresholds, and then it sends a bunch of the commands, and then this is the response from the ping, but it sends all those commands down. So I think that's pretty much all that's changed in here.